Yes, I can't tell you how much I hate when people change settings. It was such a simpler deal when it was a one-man show. All right, here we are, Buckeyes Live on a Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time with all of you. Tony Gerdeman right next to me. Buckeye Huddle, of course. Buckeye Weekly is the podcast. Get there. Steve Hillwagon down below, Bucknuts 247 Sports. Guys, how we doing today?
Doing well.
Outstanding.
Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I'm on the phone, and the new laptop's supposed to arrive sometime today. So the long national nightmare is soon to be over. Okay. You guys are doing well. We're doing well. Buckeye fans not doing too well about a noon kickoff. Imagine if you were Texas fans. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff for you, but it's going to be some early tailgating, some brunch, whatever you want to do before noon, and it's an early day for you guys. So I don't know how you guys are for the noon starts, but Steve, I guess we'll start with you because there's a lot of angst over this.
Well, first of all, I know I can always count on Kevin Noon, Tom Moore, and Tony Gerdeman to beat the traffic and be parked and inside the stadium by probably 8:30 for a noon game. And maybe I'm being a little bit late. I don't know, but they get there plenty early, and they get there so early. I can ask them what are the traffic problems getting in there. So, that way when I glide in about 10:15, and get parked and get inside by 10:30 and get my runny eggs and my potatoes and all that, then, and get ready. But, Texas is used to the 11 a.m. local time starts. They have that almost every year. It seems like for the Oklahoma game, the network's always, it has been a 3:30 game as well in the past, but I think that a lot of times that game's at noon Eastern time. It's unfortunate. And I just think that Ross Bjork and Ryan Day need to lobby Fox as much as they can to at least get 3:30, if not 7:30, because for certain that when the game goes back to Texas next year, it's going to be a night game in Texas because ABC is going to have it. ESPN and ABC are going to have it as a night game, obviously down in Texas. So, much tougher environment to play on the road at night than it is during the day. So, I look at it that I think that Ohio State needs to do everything they can to talk to the Big Ten and Fox about trying to work something out so that it will be a little bit later in the day if it's at all possible. The flip of that is obviously Fox has branded noon as the time to play its primary games each Saturday. So, and they've done really well in the ratings because there are no West Coast games to compete with it. And there are ESPN and ABC really don't program much in the noon spot. So unless they have like a Texas Oklahoma game or something like that. So to me, I look at it that it's going to be unfortunate if it's at noon, but understandable if it is. Last thing is they produced a graphic that said that since they've done Big Noon, that they've had over 200 million viewers for Ohio State games, more than any other college in that time slot. And that explains why Ohio State is such a big draw for them.
I think I said this last night. We did a live show last night. If Fox wants the biggest bang for its buck and they want the most audience members for their two windows in week one, you put Ohio State and Texas at 3:30 and you put Penn State, Nevada at 12 because there's nothing good at 12 anyway. And then your 3:30 game would beat the Alabama, Florida State game. And I know everybody is saying it's noon. It has not been said. It has not been declared noon yet. So you can hold out some hope. You can have some hope that it won't be. Ohio State there are people at Ohio State who are trying to get this to be a 3:30 or seeing what they can do. But I think it would make a ton of sense for Fox to put this at 3:30 because it's going to win wherever you put it. And they do have a 3:30 window. The 3:30 window, they had a double header to start the season last year at 12 and 3:30. They've got 30 windows all throughout the season at times. So it's no big thing to make this a 3:30 kick and make the Nevada Penn State the big noon, because Marshall and Ohio State was a big noon kickoff last year. So like you've got the branding of Penn State. You can tout how great they're going to be in the national title hopes that they have, and then do the same thing then you've got the big buildup for Ohio State and Texas.
What I'll throw in just as an addition to this, they talk that maybe Fox has primetime baseball, and we fight this every year with Penn State, being at the end of October, that they've got playoff or World Series and they would never play that game at night. Well, this is the end of August, last Saturday in August, and it's regular season baseball, and that could easily be kicked over to Fox Sports 1 for regular season baseball to go for a college football game that's going to get 10 million viewers. So to me, I think that, they have the wherewithal to do this. I think maybe they would have to make some kind of a concession with NBC, which would broadcast in that nighttime spot that, maybe switch a time spot with them, or maybe make that a Peacock game for NBC the first week, or, something that maybe trade a pick with them later on in the year. Like instead of going second one week, Fox would go third and NBC would go second, or something like that, just because to me, I think there would be tremendous value for Fox if they're able to play the game in prime time.
Yeah, so I know that everybody has different lifestyles, different preferences. A lot of people do errands during the day and they come home to watch college football at night. Other people want to get the game out of the way and then they do other things later at night. There's all sorts of preferences. So I'm not trying to tell anybody how to think, how to live. Everybody's got their own deal going on. As far as I'm concerned, I watch college football all day. I don't care when the game is. It makes absolutely no difference to me. For me personally, and if I was going to put this on everybody else, it's a debate that I could care less about. I find interest in the debate itself and being amused by other people's take on it and their angst and their concern. And then we've got this Ohio legislator, this Republican Tex Fisher. Ironically, the guy's name is Tex Fisher. I had to do like a triple take on that, out of Boardman. He introduced a bill last week that would require Ohio State football games. Well, the legislation obviously is generic. So it says any Ohio school that plays a top 10 team cannot play them before 3:30 Eastern time. And of course, obviously, Ohio State's the only school that does that. So it's directed at Ohio State with a $10 million fine if played before. Does this guy not understand? First of all, let's deal with real life, buddy. You shouldn't be concerned with college football. Let's deal with real life issues. That's what you're paid to do. That's my thought first and foremost. But if he's going to get entangled in this, he obviously should understand television contracts. The main partner for the Big Ten is Fox, and Fox determined that noon's going to be its biggest game. Everybody knew this. Everybody's known this for 8 years. I think the Fox contract started in 2017. That's just the way it is. That's who you signed up with.
Well, and politicians getting involved, they're just trying to sway the people like, look at me, look what I'm doing. It's all dumb and it's stupid and it's a waste of time. And that's somebody looking for some points that don't add up to anything and aren't real about making anybody's life better or helping people. It's just some of the worst stuff about politics. But again, if Ohio State doesn't want the money, stop taking the money. If you don't want the Fox money, stop taking it. You know what this is going to entail. You know that you have to play noon games. Now, I do think it's fair that you shouldn't have to play so many. I think there should be some parameters that you put in, and you can't be carrying the water every single week or 4 or 5 times in a season because that's not fair to you.
Sure.
But I do think the idea of basically a lot of people don't like noon games because it doesn't give them enough time to drink. And I don't think that's a great argument for getting something done, like for like, this academic institution that has football that brings in millions or whatever. Like, yeah, we'd like more time to drink. You need a better argument than that. And that's where you've got the recruiting thing is it's hard to get from California or Florida to an Ohio State noon game, basically because you're going to, especially during the season where you play on a Friday night and then you take a red eye to Columbus and try to get to a noon game. That's a pain for families and players. So that's a legitimate thing. But more than anything, the complaint that I get is, it's too early to get up and tailgate. And that's a you problem. That's not a football problem. If you really want it, you can do it.
And again, that's fine. I don't mind people's complaints. They can complain about whatever they want and complain based, again, on their particular lifestyle and what they prefer. I'm just saying for me, I don't care. I think that this is an asinine argument that our buddy Steve is making here when he says, stop it, Mark. Ohio State is a primetime program.
That's not me.
You flip on your typical ABC game at prime time that if they're not showing the SEC, they're showing Clemson and Boston College at 7:30 on the prime time game. The prime time game for Fox has been designated to be the noon game since 2017. This has been going on for 8 years. It's not that Ohio State and Texas is not considered the best game of the week. That's hands down the best game of the week. The most important game, going to be the most watched. And Steve, if you want to go from week to week through college football TV ratings, compare the Fox noon window to the ABC primetime window. Do that. It's not even close. So this primetime business, yes, primetime television is at night, but primetime in college football is whenever the best teams are playing.
Yep, that's probably the case. I think we wouldn't even have this discussion had it not been for that Tennessee game. I think that's the one that threw the fly in the ointment here, that it was such a great environment. And just other than how cold it was just a memorable, remarkable day at Ohio State, an evening, really. And, first time they've ever hosted a playoff game and so many other great subplots to that game. But, man, the atmosphere for that game was off the hook, and the fans really did a great job that night. And if they could carry that over for most of the home games, it would be a lot of fun going to these games at the Horseshoe again, and not kind of the whatever I would say, it's lost. I don't know. It's lost some of the excitement maybe with all the day games and everything. I don't know, but and all the winning too. It's kind of like if you don't win by 5 touchdowns, why did we even come here today? So it's there's a little bit of boorishness with the Ohio State fan base. Let me tell you, but some unreal expectations at times. But still, at its heart, there is tremendous support for this team, and I think that they've suffered enough with. Fox seems to have the first choice, so many of these weeks, and it was obvious they're going to take Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, Ohio State, and then the third choice. I don't know what else is out there: Penn State, Oregon, or Penn State, Ohio State, for Fox to maybe look for their third number one pick, and then. From there, it should alternate CBS, NBC, Fox, the rest of the way, I would think. So, I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. And, not much we can do about it. But, at least say our piece when it comes up.
Maybe Michigan, Oklahoma is a possibility as that third one, but probably not.
Nah, Oklahoma's a nothing.
I will say, a lot of the atmosphere in that Ohio State-Tennessee game was thanks to the 30,000 Tennessee fans that angered Ohio State fans and forced them to bring it. I still think that would have been an incredible crowd with just 5,000 or 6,000 Tennessee fans. But one of the other issues that I have with the noon games, and just thinking back in the press box with these games, I've said it many times in the game, like sitting there with whomever, like how can this be an enjoyable television product? Because there's constant breaks there, and how can it be an enjoyable product in the stadium when those same breaks are then filled with, let's talk to this sponsor, let's now we're going to honor these people and we're going to do this. And back in my day, we had the band to help keep things lively, and now the band is continued to be lessened and lessened every year. But I do think shortening the games is going to help, but you still have so many breaks now that now you've got more breaks in a shorter window. Like when it was a 4-hour game, and these were rare, but like 3:45, 4 hours, there's just a lot of sitting around and doing nothing. And then now the games are under 3.5 hours, which is good, but you still have so many breaks and so much, whether it's replay or just commercials or whatever, there's a lot of just sitting for the fans, just sitting and doing nothing and waiting for something to happen. But I will also say fans complain about the atmosphere, but it's the fans that control the atmosphere. And I know it's not as easy to be loud and raucous, I guess, at 12 compared to a 7:30. But it's one of those things where, physician, heal thyself. If you want a loud atmosphere, you can help make that happen.
You brought up the legislator who started this bill. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but, we live in a state, our local school district failed a bond issue or whatever it is to get a new elementary school by a margin of 40 to 60 against. I mean, we have school buildings with asbestos that we can't afford to replace. We've got all this new money from sports gambling, all these other things going on. We have homeless people on street corners in every major city in this state. We can't solve the problems that we have, and this jackass is wasting his time talking about college football. It just, I don't get it. I do not get it.
I am with you. And again, I just want to be clear, because I know I'm going to be misquoted on this, that for anybody out there that has a preference of when they want their college football and their Ohio State football in particular, I have no issue with that. Complain all you want. Everybody has their own lifestyle preferences. And if you want to complain, you can complain, and I'm not going to criticize your complaints. It's this objective, quote unquote, objective argument that night games are better than day games. Well, that's not objective. That's based on what you want, based on your lifestyle, and that's fine. And then the second point would be when people say that there's a bigger home field advantage at night. Maybe there is. That, again, cannot be proven. If anybody wants to do the math on that and wants to go through the games and the point spreads and goes through some type of objective analysis to prove it to me that night games are more favorable for the home team, I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying nobody's ever proven this. It's just another one of those theories that has yet to be proven.
Well, I mean, Ohio State beat Texas at night, and Ohio State in 2005, didn't they? If I recall, wasn't that? No, that was a loss. Ohio State has plenty of losses at night. And
USC, Virginia Tech,
Oklahoma.
So, I mean, it's a better atmosphere, but doesn't mean you're going to give you a better chance of winning the game. And really, I think the better chance of winning the game should be the priority, rather than I'm more comfortable being loud at night as opposed to during the day. And again, I don't want to keep crapping on fans that aren't loud when they could be if they wanted to be, but I think this is a problem that could solve itself if people are just louder at noon rather than louder right now complaining about it. If save the complaints for the refs at 12 p.m. and a kickoff, and then get after the people that are really being terrible and hurtful to you. It's the refs.
All right, folks. It's a bit difficult for me to get your comments to the screen. So a little bit more work to get it there and to manipulate a tiny screen with my pinky to get to the screen. So we'll do the best we can.
If there are any questions, I could look for them and read them, I suppose.
Excellent. And I can.
I'll go through and see if there's any questions.
I've got a backup laptop, but when I click on the comment, it takes about 14 minutes to get it to the screen. So
Here's one from Mika Hanna. Tony, is that a new cat that you keep pushing out of the screen?
Yeah, it's our new cat, Bandit. Still learning his manners, but he'll get there. He'll get there.
Do you still have Mr. Business?
Mr. Business is still around. He's okay. Yes,
okay,
he's fine.
Very good. Mika also asked thoughts on Sincere Johnson and linebacker recruiting.
Yeah, I think everybody expects Sincere Johnson to end up a Buckeye, being that he is a Glenville Tar Blooder, but we just saw a Glenville guy commit to USC here, Florida. Yeah,
Jameer Perez.
But I think people would be shocked if Sincere Johnson went anywhere other than Ohio State.
Yeah,
and I know they're doing pretty well with Tyler Atkinson, who's a 5-star linebacker who may be more of an edge than a linebacker. So, they're clearly still working. And it's the 2026 class. I mean, we are 7 months away from signing day, and it seems like it's closer than it is. I think when you think about it, that you need to start making all of the commitments need to start happening, and you need to start finishing things up and then locking those guys in so that they're not out visiting other places and things like that. But a lot of these guys are going to be taking so many visits, and Ohio State's going to be trying to get the last one as much as they can so that they can make the lasting statement.
Rusty Jesse had a question. Has kids transferring so easily impacted the ratings yet? And given people college football fatigue, have the ratings gone down? Mark, you're more of a TV analyst than I am. To me, it doesn't feel like interest in the product has waned. I mean, I think there are some people maybe who feel this way, but I don't know. What are you sensing, I guess?
Yeah, I do not think that the TV ratings are reflecting that. I haven't done a exact comparison. I do a series every offseason to compare teams and conferences and networks, but haven't done a year-to-year comparison. But I don't think that the numbers, now the national championship game didn't fare well for whatever reason this year, but obviously it got out of hand.
Monday night, OSU was up big at the half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, no. Now, if they can avoid scheduling playoff games against NFL games, that would help, because those 2 games tanked against the NFL games. And they're going to have more of that this year with the expanded, or I should say in 2 years. They're going to have more of it this year, but basically the same situation this year. But in 2 years, they're going to have even more with the 16-team field. But overall, college football TV ratings seem to be fine. I do think that people are vocalizing their disappointment, their angst. I've used that word about 18 times today. Their angst over the transfer portal and NIL, and that they've grown a little bit weary of that. And I get it. I have too.
Well, I think people vocalizing their angst is nothing new about anything, so that's society now. So if there's anything, then there's going to be some angst about it. I do think the portal and this is, it hurt basketball, but basketball has been waning before the portal. It was already the inability to get to know teams and players that hurt that sport with the one and dones and things like that. And at least with college football, you knew they'd be around for 3 years, but now they can hop around. I still don't think it's going to negatively impact it nearly as much as it did basketball. And I know that there's still the bulk of the team that you knew from last year is still back, and that's for just about every fan base. And that's almost not the case for any fan base in basketball. So, they're 2 very different things. So I think the portal, for me, I think it brings more interest for college football because there is the hot stove portion of the season. And that's one of the things that people love about the NFL is free agency and the draft, and college football. I think you're starting to see some of that free agency and some of that interest. And when the transfer portal window opens, that's like a draft day type of thing now, where you've got people just I mean, Mark, doing live shows every day and things like when the portal opens and things are happening, and so people look forward to that now to see what's going to happen, and it gives programs another opportunity after signing day when you miss there to maybe land somebody else. I think it creates more interest, but you're always going to have people who are unhappy with players making money because it's more money than they're making, so they don't like that portion of it.
Yeah. I think it's remarkable in the portal era that Ohio State this offseason really didn't lose anybody of note. Perhaps the worst one that they lost that could have helped them was Hero Canoe, who's going to Texas to play defensive tackle. And, they need defensive tackles at Ohio State. So I think maybe he saw he wasn't going to start, but then Houston and Caden McDonald in front of him. But, otherwise, Ohio State really didn't get damaged too much by the portal. And I know we're going to touch on the quarterback who joined, but I got one more question here from our guy Garrison. And I know yesterday he was part of the interview session that Luke Montgomery did here on the site. And he said Luke said that Will Smith Jr. has been a guy that has really come on at defensive tackle. What have you all heard about his development and his play in practice? Will's been banged up the first couple of years. He's been Ohio State. He's a third-year sophomore now, so he's actually got 3 years of eligibility left. And I did hear a couple comments that he is starting to really play some good football. So if he could be in the 2 deep, that would be great this year and get his first real taste of playing. Tony, maybe you studied the defensive line a little closer than I did, but do you get a sense that Will Smith's a little closer to some playing time this year?
Well, I mean, we saw him kind of as the number 2, number 3 nose tackle in the spring, and he's an interesting guy because he's a little like BB Landers, where he's smaller than your typical nose tackle, and he's got some quickness to him. I know they're desperate to find 2 guys that can step in and be the backups, and they're going to give everybody an opportunity. If it can be him as the nose, as the undersized nose with some quickness, then that would be great. You got Tywan Malone there as well, and Jason Moore. We'll see what happens there. But the need for a Will Smith or anybody other, Jarquez Carter, like getting in there is pretty significant just to even things out in the front 4. But Will Smith, the thing there is, like, you're always going to get all of the effort that kid has. So that's something you can work with. And it's not like they're asking a bunch of snaps from any of the backup defensive tackles this year, maybe, 16 a game or something like that, give or take 4 or 5, depending on the opponent. So if it can be him as a redshirt sophomore now, then that would be good, because you'd have him ready to go the next 2 years after this as well.
Our buddy Steve counterpunched my comment there that I just posted on the screen. Says Ohio State is 17-6 at night since 2012, and that I should be impressed by that. Well, that's like a 73% winning percentage. And if Ohio State was winning 73% of its games since 2012, this would not be a happy fan base in this chat at all.
Well, and how many of those night games are the lessers as well? That's the question that I'd pose to them. How many of those are ranked opponents? Because, we've seen whether it's like a Toledo or a Western Michigan or an Akron or, whatever, like nondescript Big Ten Network or Peacock needs a night game. That's what it is. Like, if that counts in there, that's not helping the argument. But yeah, I think we'd all love it, the build up to see a night game for this one. But it is interesting that, like, you used to wonder, and you look at the schedule, that's going to be a night game. That should be a night game. That should be a night game. Now you look at it, and it's like, what is the ugliest game on the schedule? That might be a night game. And that's because of the television contracts, like that Grambling, that might be a night game. And it's not the same when Fox decided that their best opportunity for a big ratings to have no competition is at 12 p.m. And it's worked for them, because if it hadn't worked, they would have moved off of it and they wouldn't have continued to invest in it so much.
Yeah, I wonder if Ohio University could fill that bill too. One of those two games is going to be on Big Ten Network, and they could put it anytime they want, I suppose, any of their three spots.
Except for the 10:30, please.
Yeah, not the 10:30.
Do you guys think will there be a 10:30 Ohio State kick at some point?
Well, Tony Petiti, I asked him about that, and obviously we saw Rutgers had to deal with that with like an 11 p.m. local or 11 p.m. Eastern time start for a game in Los Angeles against USC. And the response I got was the non-entities, or rather the entities, which I presume are Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, are not going to play at 11 o'clock at night, because why would you bury a ratings winner, playing a West Coast team at 11 o'clock Eastern time? It makes no sense to do that. But the non-entities, parenthesis, most everybody else, can fit into that time slot no problem. So, and poor Rutgers, I mean, they were the first one and the only one, to my knowledge, so far that's had to play a late night game on the West Coast. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, even though they have no discernible fan base, that they were sent out there to play at 11 o'clock Eastern time, and then, fly back and probably have to play a game, the following week. It's just completely ridiculous.
Well, I mean, if you're going to make the West Coast teams play at 9 local, play at noon Eastern, turnabout is fair play, especially for Rutgers and Maryland, who I don't think are quite yet getting a full share based on what I heard yesterday on the radio, which is crazy to me that they're still almost there, but not quite getting that full share.
Yeah, 10 years in. How about that?
That's crazy. Yeah, this is going to be the 12th football season for those two.
That's nuts.
Seems like 50.
Yeah.
I hope Oregon and Washington never get a full share, and UCLA, I hope they never get a full share. That's ridiculous. Maybe they'll leave and go back to the Pac-12.
Does UCLA not get a full share?
I don't know.
I thought that USC and UCLA did.
I think they do, and Washington and Oregon get like a half share for a while because they were the Johnny-come-latelys.
They were the rescue boat. They were the I won't say Haitian refugees, but the Haitian refugees.
Pacific Northwest refugees.
Yes, right.
Steve, you alluded to this quarterback, the transfer portal edition from Houston Christian. I didn't know that Houston Christian had existed until about 5 years ago, and now they seem to be picking up games against the likes of Texas Tech and Houston every year. But Eli Brickhandler.
Is that an FCS school or FBS school? Are they like in Sunbelt or something? Or
FCS, yeah. Used to be Houston Baptist.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So they've widened it out from Baptist to all Christians. Very good. Well, that's nice of them. This is strictly a measure to give them a guy who can practice and be the scout team quarterback. And so I look at it that he's not going to probably practice with the offense a whole lot, and probably frees up Tavian St. Clair to practice with the offense a little bit more as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. We were told that he's going to be on scholarship, and they always prefer to have 4 scholarship quarterbacks, so that frees that up. But like Steve said, this allows Tavian St. Clair to stay as the third team quarterback and work on the Ohio State offense, as opposed to the guy on the scout team who has to run everybody else's offense. And so that's what the Brickhandler, he's dual threat guy, so he can give you kind of looks at whatever you need. And this is something that they wanted to do. They just weren't sure there was going to be somebody out there. And it's always a tough ask, because you want somebody with experience, and not that he's got a ton. He's a 4th-year junior who started maybe a couple of games. He started out at North Carolina A&T for 2 years, and then he was at Houston Christian last year and maybe had a couple of starts. Did lead his team to a win over the 24th ranked McNeese State. Was rushed for 100 yards in the game last year, so could do some different things, but not looking for him to start. In fact, I wonder if it got down to the 4th quarterback, they might start Brandon Innes at quarterback rather than maybe Brickhandler. I don't know. That's maybe an exaggeration, but they certainly don't want to find out.
This kid transfers from Houston Christian to Ohio State, and he didn't even start the entire schedule last year.
No, he only threw for like 600 or 700 yards last year. Was in and out of the lineup. Same thing in North Carolina A&T. Like, was never the starter there, like full-time starter. And somehow he played some like semi-pro ball in Hungary this spring. So when we talk to him in the fall, it'll be a story, I'm sure. Like, who are you? Where did you come from? What are you doing here? How did this all happen? And there's going to be a lot of story to tell, I'm sure, because this is also a married guy with a kid. So like he's the most interesting man in the world.
Otherwise, Tony, you're telling us that this is the last time that Eli Brickhandler's name's going to be uttered on this show.
Probably, although when we've talked to the quarterbacks in fall camp, his name will come up because we will have most likely have talked to him at that point, and we'll probably say, oh yeah, and we talked to Eli Brickhandler. But yeah, if we talk about him more than that, then you've either got the story of the year, like a Joe Germain type of thing where he came out of nowhere, or it's the story of the year in a bad way. No offense.
Folks, we do have an Amazon link. It's down in the description section of this video and all the videos. So please use the Amazon link. It recognizes your account, so you lose nothing. It's the same shopping experience. You can contribute to the Voice of College Football that way without spending a penny. And also the audio for this show and all our Ohio State shows are available on your favorite audio platform. So if you don't want to watch us on YouTube or are unable to, you're in the car, whatever, you can catch us on audio just about one day after the live stream here on Wednesdays. Yeah, I have pretty much gone through my list of topics, that's for sure. Do we have any questions there in the chat? I know that I'm going to post a poll now about this whole kickoff time against Texas, because I want to hear the comments roll in some more. But I see 4.5 is the point spread against Texas.
Oh yeah,
I know Steve's got a big 17 number from what I remember.
34-17 your final. Trust you enjoyed it.
Hey, I would like to see Arch Manning play well so that he finally starts to, and it's not even his fault, but the amount of hype and putting him in all of these lists, all of these All-American lists and draft lists and things like that. Like, let him start for an entire season and see what he does, because this is very similar to what they were doing to Quinn Ewers, and how that didn't turn out so great either. So. And really, like, for people to be projecting him, or to not even projecting him, to be stating that he is like one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the nation is crazy, because there's absolutely no proof of any of that. There's not enough proof of it, certainly. And I don't think it's a great year for quarterbacks, but to already be anointing him, to me, is it's irresponsible, and it's lying, because you don't know it yet. So you're just throwing it out there. Not that he can't be. But I'm going to be willing to just wait and let him do it, and not put any other kind of expectations on him, and then he becomes this sort of villain because he didn't live up to them.
I'm looking through to see if I can find any kind of meaningful additions through the transfer portal, and I'm not really coming up with many for Texas, surprisingly. I have yet to do the deep dive on the Longhorns.
Yeah, Ohio State would certainly take Hero Canoe back, but that ship has sailed.
Well, it should be a heck of a ball game, and yeah, it's tricky ranking quarterbacks who have never played or have not played meaningful snaps, because we know, like the one that's going to be starting in Columbus against Texas on the other side in Scarlet, that he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten. I would be shocked if he's not, Julian saying. But where do you rank him? He's never thrown a pass.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Projections and rankings to me are 2 different things. If you want to project him to be the top, fine. if you're ranking him as the top, you're wrong because he's not. He's not shown any sort of thing. That's Julian saying. That's DJ Lagway. That's all of these young guys that are have ascended for some people, and it's like you're wrong because it hasn't happened yet. So I think like projecting is fine, and we're going to start seeing. I made it to Barnes and Noble, I think the last 2 days, looking for the college football magazines to start popping up. The first one should be out perhaps this week, and seeing where these guys are all listed, because I think, again, projecting is fine. Stating that this guy is the best quarterback in the nation, or the second or third or even fifth, is outrageous because there's absolutely no legitimate evidence of that. And for people to do that, then I'm like, I don't see you as serious.
Uh-oh. I stand corrected then. I'm going to have to change my off-season rankings to rankings projections then.
Exactly. I mean, you understand what I'm saying though, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's not a track record.
And maybe it's semantics.
How do you rank a guy that's never played?
Yeah.
I totally get it. But at the same time, we've seen it way too many times when Nick Saban names Bryce Young the starting quarterback before spring practice. He doesn't even let it play out like he did with Jake Coker and Blake Sims, for example. If that guy's that good to Nick Saban, then it lets me know he must be able to play. But I can't evaluate him because I've never seen him play three passes the season before. But I still said, boom, he must be the second best. I've ranked him like the best or second best quarterback in college football before he ever started a game.
And you were totally wrong.
But I was totally right after he actually played and won the Heisman Trophy.
And that's the other thing. Like, you may end up being right. I just don't like the phrasing, and maybe this is just dying on an unnecessary hill.
I understand, and I have certainly taken that stance on other topics when it comes to making, wild projections versus sticking to what we've actually seen. I was asked what quarterback in college football has the most to prove this year, and I think that's got to be Drew Aller. Even though he's probably proven, he's definitely proven more than any Big Ten quarterback, he still has more to prove because the playoff performance just wasn't there, and he's got to drag that coach along with him too.
Oh, Franklin.
So.
My thing with Drew Aller, it's like I think maybe my bigger issue is everybody already thinks he's proven everything, and they're wrong. Like, that's why I agree with you. Like, he has a lot to prove, but you listen to people talk about how he's this and that and this. It's like, I've not seen that. And we've had ample opportunities to see him be that. And he's never, like, I don't understand the first round draft pick, the this and that yet, because we haven't seen it. We've seen him have some good moments, but I've seen him have more questionable moments in questionable plays in big moments than I have seen him like make the play to save the day or be this guy like, okay, I believe in you, because to this point I don't, and I haven't. And I'd say, yeah, he's got a ton to prove, but there are so many people out there that think he's already proven it.
Well, this is where I stand on Aller, is that for me, through the Big Ten championship game, he had basically proven it. I thought he was a different player last season than he was the year before. Through the regular season, that's the caveat. Through the regular season, he sliced and diced Oregon. He threw some incredible passes in that game. Even when he played Ohio State, even though he didn't have a great game, even though they only put up 2 field goals on offense, I didn't think that was his fault. I just thought Ohio State's defense was just so good. And he had no receivers to bail him out, no receivers to throw to on the outside besides the tight end, obviously, Tyler Warren. And to me, watching him play last season, he threw with conviction. He played with fire. He led a big comeback at USC and went to overtime and won the game. I just thought he played so much more convicted and with poise and with confidence last year. And then, boom, then the playoff hit. And against SMU, he was a complete non-factor. Now, that wasn't his fault. They just got a zillion turnovers on defense, and the game was over in the second quarter, so it didn't matter. He just handed the ball off all game. Then against Boise State, they were so dominant on the ground. He was basically not needed and didn't play particularly well when he did throw the ball. And then against Notre Dame, it wasn't just the late game interception that blew the game. It was the entire performance was not good.
And even Oregon, he was 20 of 39 and threw 2 picks. Like his whole postseason was questionable, and didn't complete 60% of his passes in any of his 4 postseason games. But yeah, the last game, I think it was 13 of 22, 12 of 23, and it's like where is this outrageous NFL draft prospect? And I'm not trying to crap on him, but I think he's a good quarterback. But I think that's about it so far. And so I'll be dropping an episode of Buckeye Weekly podcast tomorrow where we draft Buckeyes who are most likely to be first team All Big Ten. We each draft 5. And when talking about Julian saying, like, you look at the Big Ten quarterbacks, it's like Drew Aller, that's the biggest roadblock to a quarterback being All Big Ten this year. And if that's the roadblock, I think it's possible for several Big Ten quarterbacks to get there, including a Julian Sand or a Lincoln Kienholz.
By the way, Steve, thanks for the comment. Thank you for complimenting the content. You as well, Steve. I'm not looking to pick a fight with you. I just took exception to your take on the whole night game situation. Appreciate you being here, and we appreciate seeing you in the chat all the time. Yakov had stated that he sent in a super chat and it wasn't noted or something, or didn't show up. So Yakov, if you can just tell us what your question was or your comment, we will.
It was probably about, Steve, did you prefer the Reds lineup in 1979 against left-handed pitchers or right-handed pitchers? And if you could go a deep dive into Davey Concepcion's, what he could do against these guys versus that guys. And did you ever see anybody with the kind of range that he had? And also, and I'll just add this in for my own, clearly Ryan Sandberg is the best second baseman in National League history. I'll take your comments off the air.
And of course, Steve knows that the Reds in '79 were swept by the Pirates in the NLCS.
No, you're muted, Steve. Oh, we're missing it.
Still muted, Steve.
Yeah, and they lost the Pirates last night. I'd like our Hall of Fame manager, Terry Tito Francona, in the 9th inning against a right-handed pitcher to put Will Benson up there, who's homered in 4 of the last 5 games. It would have been nice. One swing of the bat, he could have tied it. Instead, he had Espinal bat, and he bounced weakly into a double play that essentially ended the game. So, yeah, waiting for Tito to engage a little bit here, but Concepcion should be in the Hall of Fame, and Joe Morgan is the greatest second baseman who ever lived. So there you go.
Well, I will take a shot in place of Tony's guess on Yakov's super chat. I'll be a little bit more maybe to the point. Who's your favorite Red of all time, Steve? Do you have
somebody asked me that, and damn, I mean, Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan. I mean, how do you make a pick from those 3? I mean, my God, 3 of the top 50 players that ever played the game were together on one team. I mean, it's like the Yankees, back in the day. So I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know. Pete, I suppose, just because he was from Cincinnati, but I don't know. That's a tough one.
When I first got into it, George Foster was a wrecking crew for about 4
Love
years.
Foster too. His 1977 in the dead ball era, with 52 home runs and 149 RBIs. Nobody like 10 years before, 10 years after did anything like that. And they had to start juicing the ball to get people to come back to the ballpark. That's when it changed again.
I would say Cal Daniels.
Yeah, Calvosky Daniels. Yep.
Mike Cameron.
Yeah, he was there in '99.
Yeah.
Sean Casey.
Absolutely. The mayor.
Yeah.
Austin Kearns.
Yes.
Tom Browning. pitcher perfect. I don't know, a lot of them.
Mariano Duncan.
Duncan was a huge part in 1990 winning the World Series. Yeah, Billy Hatcher as well. So
Yeah.
guys who made it other places, but for 1 year, Glenn Braggs came in, and Paul O'Neill were part of a big season in Cincinnati.
Well, if we want to be a little bit more serious about it, of course, Eric Davis.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Had he not been injured, his way of playing, he banged himself up so much that he'd be in the Hall of Fame if he hadn't, banged himself up so much.
All right. I think we have done some good work here. Tony, what's going on this week at Buckeye Huddle and with your podcast, Buckeye Weekly?
Yeah, Buckeye Weekly. We dropped an episode live episode last night talking about the new CEO of college sports coming and what that could mean for the NCAA investigation into Michigan and the punishment that could be handed down there. And basically talking about how Michigan's not going to be able to outrun the NCAA here because there's something coming after the NCAA. And they seem to want to be pretty strict in terms of how they punish things. So if we talk about that, you can find that now. And then tomorrow we'll be dropping an episode of drafting the most likely Buckeyes, 10 Buckeyes that'll most likely be all Big Ten this year. So you can find that at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle and all of your podcast platforms. And then yesterday wrote about Lorenzo Styles Jr. and his role. And I'll be writing about somebody else today. We'll see. We'll see when I get to my quotes.
Eli Brick Handler is an honorable mention, all Big Ten selection.
Scout team,
honorable mention.
Perhaps. I'm not. You could get some crazy odds on that one.
Steve, what's going on at Bucknuts?
Well, I also did a big deal on Lorenzo Styles Jr. as well as his dad, Lorenzo Styles Sr., graduating coincidentally on the same day, May 4th, the spring semester commencement. And also Lorenzo Jr. and his brother Sonny are involved with the Huckleberry House, which provides support for homeless children in Central Ohio, doing a fundraiser next Friday, the Sleep Out, where they're trying to raise money to support the Huckleberry House, which houses kids 12 to 17 who are homeless and also has apartments for young adults 18 to 24, kind of single moms who really need a help getting going. Just a tremendous cause. And their mother, Laverna, was the one who kind of brought them into that. And they use their own NIL money to support this cause and are trying to raise more money. So they'll be over $30,000 in 3 years with this year's event. So I got a story about that on our site. Did a chat last night. A lot of good questions there. And just more to come. Like Tony said, we haven't exhausted all the spring football content yet. And, it's still useful to see what people think of some of these guys, even though, it ended up a month ago. It's still, their status with the team really hasn't changed a whole lot. So, it is kind of useful still to read about, how these guys are doing.
If you were one of the 135 sticking around, was more like 90 or so a few minutes ago, you can obviously zip back to the beginning of the show to check out what you missed. So please do that as we sign off right here and most likely back next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. But that's why you subscribe and hit the bell for the notifications to know for sure when we go live. Tony, thanks for being here. Steve, you as well. You guys make it go for us.
Yep. Take care.